Good morning, it's Tuesday, it's a podcast with an unbelievable entrepreneur. And now I know a lot of the time I say unbelievable entrepreneur, but I really mean it this time. Because we're not just talking about an entrepreneur who started off a very specific business in a very difficult sector to break into. We are also not just talking about an entrepreneur who managed to build that business up to $100,000 a month with pretty much no financial help from the outside, and I mean no venture capital backing. We are talking about an entrepreneur who did all of that, and then she gets hit by the worst crisis of all time, which is this COVID crisis, which destroyed any companies that required face-to-face interaction. And as you will find out, her company is almost entirely face-to-face interaction. And while every other company in America crashed and crumbled, understandably, because they couldn't do business, her revenue doubled. So I want you to meet a very special person today, somebody I am really proud that we invested into. We just put a beautiful little $100,000 check into her before. I am saying to all of my investor friends here that this is going to be a phenomenal business to invest in. She has only begun. Florence from Meet Caregivers, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. Thanks for having me.
You've done
Excited to be
awesome.
here.
You've done awesome. And
Thank you.
I was speaking to somebody else about you yesterday, talking about how incredible you are, and she was agreeing how incredible you are. But so everybody right now thinks you're absolutely amazing. How did you do it? Before we go to COVID, before we go to how you managed to double your revenue in one of the most difficult periods of all time, bring us back to the beginning. Where did Meet Caregivers begin?
Yes. So Meet Caregivers actually started based on my own experience working as a caregivers during with families. So I was working part time and going to school trying to get my MBA. So that's really when I witnessed so many families struggle to care for their aging parent. Many of them were so overwhelmed, stressed, they didn't know where to go to find reliable, qualified caregivers. They complain about traditional home care agency because they found them very old-fashioned. The constant mismatch that was happening between the caregivers and their loved one, and really the lack of technology in the industry that made it difficult for them to stay engaged and actually track the care that they were paying for. So that's how the idea of Meet Caregiver started. I figure there must be a better way to match seniors with the right caregivers that they actually will like, and then can be with them for a long period of time, and then at the same time enable family who at many times live far away from their aging parents to engage and stay involved what's happening on a daily basis. So that's how it started. Officially, I would say about 3 years ago, right here in Boston. We started to build a network of caregivers and starting to do some marketing, word of mouth, reaching out to senior centers, let them know about the platform, and then that's how we started. So,
You say it so easily, but it's much more difficult. I'm guessing you are the caregiver. And I want to start the podcast by saying a big thank you to you and everybody else, because really, as we see on advertisements and everywhere these days, the heroes of America are the caregivers and the people on the front line. And that's why when you came on the podcast and you're like, well, I'm wearing all of my stuff, I'm like, I want everybody to see what you're
I
wearing,
have
because
my mask on.
you got your mask, you got your guy, you got everything, because you are the front line of America. You are making sure that our elderly population are getting taken care of. So it's not just that you're building a business, and that's what makes this podcast really nice. It's that you're building a culture and you're helping make America a better place, which is absolutely beautiful. So I wanted just to put that right out to the front of this podcast to the beginning. And
Yeah.
then I want to move to the other point of when you say, oh, I just started it, like this is really hard to start, because you're
Mhm.
going into an environment where trust is the absolute minimum bar. And I mean really high trust. And then everything else on top of that, such as financial resources, ability, availability. And then there was just little old you.
Mhm.
So how did you do it?
So it was like you said, it was not easy in its start because I didn't know where to start. This is actually one of the officially the first company that I started. So when we decided to really get things going, I actually reached out to my parents asking for a loan. They were like, "Hell no, we're not giving you the money. You need to figure out how you're gonna launch your own company if you wanna be an entrepreneur." So I started to go around in the Boston ecosystem community, just pitching, talking to people about Meet Caregivers, and then looking for seed funding or even just for co-founders because at that time I was actually really alone. I ended up running into an angel investor who was very excited about what Meet Caregivers, what we were planning to build. So she invested in
I
25K.
knew you were going to say she. You see, you
It
can.
was.
I could have put. You could have said to me right there. I'm not going to
Yeah.
tell you if it's a man or a woman. I want you to guess, and I would have known with 90% certainty it was going to be a woman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I guess the reason why she says she believed in what I was pitching is because she went through the experience of caring for her own mom. Her mom, unfortunately, had cancer. And she was responsible of taking care of her mom, and her family had a very hard time finding the right caregivers, and all the issue that I was explaining that family go through. She really understood it. So that's what she believed in what we were doing and wanted to be supportive. With
Because
her
you know why? You know
investment,
why I said that, by the way?
right?
Because I have, and it's so hard to validate what I'm about to say because
Mm-hmm.
the investment world is so dominated by men, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the outcomes are dominated by large amount of money's being put into it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very hard to tell who's better and who's worse. But I truly believe that female investors are better than male investors, right? And I believe it because I think male investors, we go for shiny objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
We sit around with our other 9 or 10 male investors and we talk about autonomous cars, or we talk about rockets to the moon, or we talk about something which are moonshots, while female investors look at real problems that are facing, that are right there in front of them, that are they're obvious, huge problems. And they say, can we make, rather than get 1 in 20 companies that are going to make it, can I find like 10 really big problems and maybe 8 of those companies will make it and I'll do better? And even if I do worse, my worse will never be the downside of the zero, which will come from the male investors. So, yeah, for that reason, that's fantastic. And she was a phenomenal support to you, was she?
She did. She did. She actually really worked hard. Not only with the, she not only invested, but she was also helping us with the operation, finding a technical co-founder to join the team to build a platform, helping manage the payment to the caregivers once we were able to onboard the caregivers into the system. So yeah, she's been very helpful, and we were very lucky to have her. So that's really how we started, and we in terms of how we reach the caregivers, we really reach out to different training centers that provide training to caregivers, let them know about the platform that we were building, because our platform, it's not just about finding the right caregivers for seniors, like doing the best matching and tracking, but also making sure that the caregivers are being respected, treated well, earning good enough salary so that they can be more satisfied with the work that they are doing. And if they are satisfied with the work they are doing, then they will then provide better care to seniors. So we strongly believe in treating caregivers well, and so that they can be able to provide better care to seniors. So yeah.
Amazing. But it must have been so hard, right? You've got a small amount of seed funding. There's still little old you. And now you've got like a CTO that's maybe going to come in and help. You're
Mm-hmm.
cold calling all morning, all afternoon, all evening. You're trying to get a training center to believe that you can actually turn this into something. Like, when did your big break come? Just to remember?
If my memory is correct, well, I mean, we spent almost like a year with no salary, right? We started to book caregivers to work with seniors, but we were not in a point where we could pay ourselves yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent 1 year, I like to say, being completely broke, eating noodles and soup every day. But at some point, we were able to form some partnership with many senior centers who saw that we were reliable and the network of caregivers that we built was very strong, reliable. They understood that our caregivers are extremely pre-screened ahead of time. So because of that, they felt safe recommending us to many seniors or family that were reaching out to them, looking for care for the loved one. So that's kind of how we started to increase our booking on a monthly basis, and then continue to do a little bit more marketing and even reaching out to hospitals to let them know about Meet Caregivers. So that's how we got a break, I would say.
Beautiful. And then what happened next? And so now you're building some traction. You're
Mm-hmm.
getting the company a little bit larger. The entire underbelly of the company is based on care and love and having caregivers feel, or sorry, folks who are getting care feel like they're almost getting care from their own family, right? And I know
Yes.
everything on your platform is based on that. So you then built the company up to be able to do $100,000 a month, which was phenomenal. And
Yeah.
then over COVID, you managed to double that, which is incredible. And I loved some of the things you were doing because what I really like about you is you always focus on what's the biggest problem facing my customers at any one
Mm-hmm.
moment. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about, well, how do we evolve our business and how do we get better at business? Like, what's the biggest problem? And the biggest problem was groceries, like having
Mm-hmm.
groceries delivered when you can't leave because it's too dangerous to leave your own house stroke apartment. So talk to
Yeah.
me about the epiphany and how that happened, and then all of the other things that you then layered on top of that.
Yes, great point. So when COVID hit, like many company, we certainly did not plan for this, right? We were all very surprised and shocked, seeing how many seniors were losing their life because of the disease. And one of the main thing that we realized because of the COVID, many seniors starting to be very worried about actually bringing new people into the house.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they were very scared to go outside to do shopping or even, pick up their medication and things like that. So we realized that we needed to at least add a new service model into our platform to support all those seniors, but also even individuals with pre-existing conditions that are currently higher at risk during the COVID pandemic. And it's really risky for them to go outside. So that's how we decided to launch the free meal delivery services. We actually currently in Massachusetts working with local food pantries that provide free meal to seniors. So we partner with them so that we can do meal delivery to seniors who cannot afford it. But for seniors who can afford it, that specifically want to buy their own food, we also enable them to hire a caregiver that can go and do that for them. So the caregiver can go shop anything that the senior need at home: bread, milk, pick up medication, really anything that they need, so that they can get the food or anything that they need at home without leaving the house and keeping them safe. So yeah, that's how we
Amazing.
started.
Amazing. And the
Yeah.
wonderful thing about everything that you do is that it has the ability to drive really good revenue, and it
Mm-hmm.
also helps so many people. And there are there are some things you do during a period like COVID where they'll go away afterwards, but there are other things you do such as this where you think actually this is something that people need forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just suddenly realized it, that if they can get somebody to go to pick up the groceries, to pick up little things for them, then they can enjoy themselves an awful lot more anyway, even during the normal times. So it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
huge. And then let's talk a little bit about the evolution, right? So where the
Okay.
company is going to go next. So you've built it, you've forged it with iron, you've brought the revenue up so that nobody can deny you've done an amazing job over in Boston. But there's all these other cities all around America. Very
Mm-hmm.
soon over in Los Angeles when we get you over
Yes.
here. that are getting ready and they want to have phenomenal services like you. Talk a little bit about what kind of rounds that you're going to be raising next, and then also talk about where we're going to do this and where you launch and how you build this from $200,000 a month up to $2 million a month, and then from $2 million a month up to $20 million a month.
Yes, so we currently in Boston, Massachusetts. We're definitively looking to start expanding on site Boston. We're looking at other states around the area, such as New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, but we're also very much interested to go to expand to the West Coast, and that's one of the reasons
Yay!
why we applied to Expert Dojo, because we needed a partner that can enable us, that can work with us so that we can start expanding in California and other West Coast area. So we are looking to raise about 1.5 so that we can support our growth and scale. Continue to strengthen her technology. It's very important that the platform be as automated as possible, so that we can be efficient and just make the experience of the seniors, the caregivers, and their family easier and also much better. So her goal, as of right now, we're doing about 200K per month. The goal is by the end of the year, Meet Caregivers should have a revenue of over 2 million, and of course continue to expand, grow in 2021, 2022. So I mean, there is a lot of potential in this industry because there is a lot of needs, and we strongly believe that we can be a billion-dollar company, but providing quality care to seniors and really enable as many as possible to age at home as long as possible, because that's really where they want to be. I don't know any seniors who can ever say, I want to be moving to nursing home. They all want to be at home, right? So her goal at Meet Caregivers is to really to make it easier for their family to find for them the right care anywhere nationwide.
Yeah, and hey, my uncle is 94 years old and he's still in his apartment, and the last thing he wants to do is move into a nursing home. He would
No.
like consider it to be worse than death. And actually, my auntie was 95 when she was still at home. So
Oh
being
wow,
at home.
that's great.
So speaking to that point, then, is it as simple? Is this equation for all of us investors just as simple as saying, well, if Boston is $200,000 a month, and actually that's probably not even the cap. I'm sure the cap is maybe $500 million a month. Then is it just as simple as saying, well, we layer on Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Miami, Austin, Dallas, Seattle, and then just all of the other larger cities, and then each one of those cities has the potential to do somewhere between 100,000 and $1 million a month per city. I mean, is it just that simple?
Yes, I mean, we believe it is. We actually expected to do more than just 200,000 in Boston. As of right before, about 2 months ago, we were mostly just working with seniors who can afford to pay directly for the care by themselves. But about 2 months ago, we got approved by the state in Massachusetts. So, which means we will be very soon be able to start providing care to seniors who are receiving Medicaid or some type of state program assistance. So we will very soon be able to do over like 4,000 over 400,000 per month in Boston, and we strongly believe we can repeat the model in other states as well, because what we provide is non-medical home care, so it's not as strongly regulated as skilled nursing at home or anything like that. So the expansion into other states should be an easy experience or expansion. So yeah.
So it's very simple. And then what about beyond the US?
That's a great question. Well, we're going to continue to work on automation and see how we can even provide access to a platform to people who might be outside of US. That's another business model that we're looking at. I know we have to talk about it a little bit more during the accelerator program to figure out how we're going to be able to roll out the platform outside of the US. But the other business model, that we're looking at is maybe just opening up a platform so that other organizations can start utilizing it without Meet Caregiver necessarily having people on the ground. So that's something that we're looking at.
Got you. Okay, so we know that you are a beast, that you will do whatever you have to do to build this thing from the beginning, which is so admirable. We know that it's a tremendous assist to the community and to America in general. We
Mhm.
know that you can make it huge because you are making it huge already. And
Mhm.
by logical conclusion, we know that if we can do $500,000 in Boston,
Mhm.
then surely there's 50 other cities which are equal to Boston at doing it. And actually, and I really like the fact that you're getting all of the regulation in place in Massachusetts because that's also a big influencer on the other cities as well. One thing is saying, yeah, we were in this city and we did the stuff. Another thing is saying, actually, this is what we've achieved in this city. So if this city and these standards say that we're good enough, then Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, anywhere in Texas, try saying something different. So really, so
Yeah.
all of that, tick, 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 tick. You've done amazing, right?
And you know, Massachusetts is one of the most regulated states in the
Yes,
US. So
yes.
if we can make it through Massachusetts regulation, I'm confident we can make it through anywhere.
Yeah, because you've got MIT on your doorstep. You've got MIT on your doorstep. You've got one of the highest regarded medical centers of any
Mhm.
level. And I'm not just talking about the MITs and stuff. I'm talking about everything. Like Boston is the center of medtech in
Mhm.
America. There are other places
Mhm.
like Orange County that would love to do it, but Boston has owned that for years, right?
Mhm.
So for you to do this in Boston, it flies a flag of quality, which brings me to that point. Like how it always fascinates me when I see a really great marketplace that do it the first time. I was
Mhm.
wondering, like, how did you do it? How did you beat the quality problem? Normally, it's so hard to get the right people at the beginning, and it keeps on pushing you down. But you seem to have just exceeded at this.
Yes, I mean, quality is very important. We really take time to pre-screen all the caregivers that come on board on a platform. So they go through extensive screening process. We run the background check. We check their references. They have to take a test to make sure that not only they have the skill but also the personality to be a caregivers. As I always tell people, somebody can have a certification, but that does not mean that they're good caregivers because they also have to have the personality to be a good caregiver, such as patient, caring, flexible, and then just being able to connect with seniors. And that's really a very important part of our onboarding process. And we are working towards automating that as much as possible without losing the quality of the screening process. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And talk to me a little bit about because I commend you for doing that. It's incredibly hard. And you're right, the personality, it's the area you don't find. And I know you've also got a really big full loop by actually then checking and getting the feedback from the seniors and from
Mm-hmm.
the training centers and from the government as well, which obviously because everybody knows that it's going to be checked on multiple levels, then
Mm-hmm.
you get great feedback there as well. But talk to me a bit about your team as well. And outside the CTO that we spoke a little bit about earlier on, who did
Mm-hmm.
you build around you and how has that team evolved over the years?
Yes, the team is actually continuing to evolve, but we have two main team members that have been around since the beginning. One of our operation director, Rita. She has extensive experience in senior care market herself. She really understands what it takes to how to bring on board the right caregiver. She's the one responsible of the onboarding process, but also making sure that the caregivers are providing the quality care that they are supposed to after they've been matched with with a senior. We have one of our advisor, Richard Yuknevorian. He's actually been in healthcare for over 20 years, working with different startup. So he's been extremely helpful in really making sure that Meet Caregivers continue to provide not only quality care but respect things such as the be impact compliant, for example. Really building solution that is providing high quality. So those are some of the main amazing team members that we have in our group. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have an amazing CTO that have extensive experience building software technology. He actually helped exit three healthcare company in the Massachusetts area. So he's really passionate about building technology that focus on quality care, providing better healthcare. So yeah.
Beautiful. And when you look at the competition throughout America, how would you
Mhm.
compare yourself? And don't feel to be, you're a very modest and reasonable person, and I don't want you to be now, right? I want
Oh
you to
yeah.
speak to the brilliance of what you've created and what it can become, but looking through the lens of the competitive landscape out there.
I
What
think
makes you special?
when we look at other organizations, I think her team is actually really a big differentiator because we are approaching this issue of health as caregivers. So we really understand the issue that family and caregivers are dealing with. Of course, we're bringing tech into it, but I think our experience in the industry is really one of a big differentiator and how we are able to stand, to differentiate ourselves from other competitors. That's how also we are able to build better technology because we understand what type of criteria that the technology need to have, right? It's not just about the skills. We understand that we needed to put into some source about the personality match of the between the caregivers and the seniors. So we understand what type of tracking that needs to be happening on a daily basis. So that's one of the main differentiator that we have that other organizations do not. And again, we care about providing care. It's not just about scaling. Scaling is very important, but we want to scale a quality platform that's able to provide a better care at home to seniors. So yeah, so that I think those are some of the main differentiator and on how Meet Caregivers stand out from the crowd. I mean, you have other platform out there. They might be scaling, but they're not focused on quality care, or the technology can be very difficult for everyday person to use. So that's one of the differentiator between Meet Caregivers and other solutions. So
Excellent.
yeah.
Okay, so I want to summarize for a moment
Okay.
why I believe for investors that this is such a compelling value proposition for them. And
Mhm.
then I'm going to pass it over to you, and you're going to
Okay.
give out contact details so folks can contact you. And
Okay.
then also, I want you to finish us with a big vision. Okay, so don't
Okay.
worry, you got a minute or two because I want to
Okay.
I want to give my summary to the investors of where you are first, but I want to
Okay.
give the big vision of you're 5 years in the future, and you're looking back and you're
Mhm.
talking about what happened with Meet Caregivers and over that period of time, what Meet Caregivers achieved, right? So just think about that for a second. I will first give my summary
Okay.
to investors of what I look for and what many of my investor friends look for when we're looking to bring a startup into the fold. So,
Okay.
number one, do we have an executor of a founder? Now, execution is looked at in different ways. Sometimes investors will say, well, it's hard to say because they haven't exited or come through a few businesses before. It is not hard to say. Success and execution leaves clues. It leaves clues on the things people do. It leaves clues by the way that they act. It leaves clues by the way that they treat other people and what they've done previously in life, right? In your case, there's even more clues because you built what is kind of impossible. Like what you set out to do with no money in place at the beginning, no CTO, no co founder at the start, was an impossibility. Now, as somebody once said, an impossibility is just something that hasn't been done yet. So you prove that correct by making it possible by doing it. So the execution box is a massive tick in the box. And I watch, even as we've got to know each other, as you evolve more and more, and what you've done during this period to grow the revenue just speaks volumes in the execution. Number two, do we have a product fit and a market which shows expansion opportunities? The product fit is there. people are going to keep on getting older. And actually, what this recent outbreak has proven is that people are going to keep on getting more vulnerable, because as we get older, this is going to happen more and more and more. We are a different population that existed 50, 60 years ago. And we need our local communities to be able to help us, because our own families don't have the possibilities or the time or the means to be able to do it than we used to do it 50 or 60 years ago. This is a market which will never, ever go away. It will continue to grow in size. And if we see what can be done in one state, trust is the inherent equalizer amongst all service providers here. And the ones that are able to get that level of trust, i.e. what you're doing in Massachusetts, will also get all of the other states, because people don't want to guess. They do not want a PR nightmare. Number 3, can we show fiscal responsibility in the company? i.e., in the early days as the company is growing, can you show that you're able to grow without risking cash flow and the company being destroyed, but at the same time have your revenue go up? It's, again, almost impossible to do, because you need to spend money to make money to get it back. And again, you prove the impossible possible by being able to build it up yourself. Number 4, can we bring this company up to be a 10 to a $20 million a month revenue company within a 5 to a 7 year period? And again, we only just need to be able to do the math here to be able to see that that's possible. What are the challenges that could face the company in the expansion, right? The expansion needs to be executed properly, but money will be required for that. And that's, I think, where the next round comes in. So for all investors that are in the pre-seed, seed, Series A space, where you're thinking, I want to be able to get a company at a great valuation, where I can invest in it at a time that I can see that all of those points that Brian make, all those marks, those boxes have been ticked. But at the same time, I want to be able to come in where I know I can get maximum upside with minimum risk. And I believe that you've proven that you're in a place to do that. So for all those reasons, not only did I invest in you, and I love the fact that we invested in you, but I
And we
think that,
love you.
I know, but that's just mutual all the way through. But I think every other investor should do this. Everybody should let you stand on our shoulders so you can achieve the greatness that you can do, because it is obvious to me, and it should be for everybody else as well. So now over to you, contact details, and then give me a vision of where you see yourself looking back in 5 years.
Great. Thank you, Brian. We're so excited to be part of Expert Dojo with you. And all the energy that you have makes us have more energy, so that's great. So her contact details, I can be contacted via email at florence@meetcaregivers.com. Or you can call me, text me. I'm very good with texting. I'll text right back. My direct phone number is 617-935-2063. Or they can just email Brian. I'm sure Brian will forward me the email.
Always,
Uh,
always. But you're easy to
I
remember,
know
like
I know
Florence
you will.
Nightingale, right?
I know everybody tells me that. And then really the big vision for Meet Caregiver is to continue to grow, scale, and support more seniors and enable millions of seniors in US to receive the perfect care that they deserve to get. And I always tell people we have to remember that we might be much younger now, but we will be getting old one day, and we will want to have platforms such as Meet Caregivers, where our family will be able to go and find the perfect caregiver to care for us at home, but at the same time be able to stay connected with what's going on with us as we get older. So her vision is to really build a platform that will support millions of users nationwide. And of course, we will be looking how we can open up a platform so that other countries can start utilizing the platform that we are building. So for more information, I would love to, please contact me, and would love to spend more time and giving you more details about our plans and what we're currently doing at Meet Caregivers. Thank
Florence,
you.
you're awesome. You're
Thank you,
awesome.
Brian.
We're going to do
Thank you so
amazing
much.
things with you leading from the front and me just holding stuff for you as you're dominating the world. You're the
Thank you so
best.
much. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate you believing in us and giving us a chance to join the accelerator program. We are very excited. So
Me
thank you.
too. Okay, thanks. That's a wrap.
Thank you. Okay.